Welcome, it's Michael Murray with Benzinga here at the Future of Digital Assets event in New York City. I have the pleasure of being joined by Tom Hegna. He is an author of 5 different books, the latest of which, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, PBS host, been in 80 million American homes teaching financial literacy and how to build wealth. Tom, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Michael. It's great to be with you.
Great to have you here. So, kick us off very briefly with just, again, I gave you a little bit of background there, but tell us more about your journey, what you've done in the past.
Okay, so I'm originally from a small town in Minnesota, went to college at North Dakota State University on an Army ROTC scholarship. I was commissioned in the military. I spent 6 years active duty Army, 16 and a half years Army Reserve, retired as Lieutenant Colonel. I spent almost 30 years in the insurance industry. I was an agent, a manager, a national marketing manager, and then retired from a Fortune 100 insurance company as a senior executive officer in 2011. Since then, I've written now 6 books. 5 of them are on retirement. I've shown people how to retire the optimal way. There is one optimal way to retire. But my latest book on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is trying to help younger people build wealth. And so I've worked for 30 years helping people retire the right way. Now I want to help the next generation actually be able to retire.
Absolutely. Really, really impressive what you've done. So let's talk then about, let's just take it from the top. What is the optimal way to retire? What is the best? Just give us the overview.
Okay, well, a lot of people think it's about the stock market or real estate. That's not true. It's really about having increasing income for the rest of your life and then managing risk. There's a lot of risk. You could live a long time. You could die. You might need long-term care. The markets can crash. Interest rates can go up. Taxes can go up. You got to manage all of those risks and then have increasing income to help protect you against inflation. And there's all the research. There's hundreds of PhDs around the world who study retirement, and most people don't read those white papers. I did, but then I put them into English. My first book was Paychecks and Playchecks. My PBS TV special was Don't Worry, Retire Happy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, speaking to the younger generation, right? Benzinga's audience, very young investor focused, very entry level or very intermediate investors that are growing their financial journey. What's your advice to somebody that may have a solid income, a solid job, a solid career going, but now wants the advice on how to start growing, not just in their income, which, as we all know, could go away any day with any of us losing a job or something like that. How do you start building tangible assets that are going to produce you wealth?
So I think it is so good for young people. A lot of people say this is the first generation that won't do better than their parents. I say the exact opposite. I've told my kids that they're going to do way better than I ever did because most kids out there don't have good money skills. Yeah. My kids do, and the people who read this book will. And so when it comes to young people, I say, look, 90% of the people out there don't think they'll ever become wealthy. And you know what? They're right. 10% of the people out there know they're going to become wealthy, and they're right too. Yeah. Because to achieve something, you got to believe you can do it. And so step number 1 that I help people do is I help them see themselves as millionaires. I will illustrate it in front of them that if they do this for this many years, they will have $1 million. Yeah. And I believe almost every single American can be a millionaire and multimillionaire except for 2 things. They spend way too much money on their cars and they get divorced. So the moral of the story is stick with your first spouse and drive a used car.
Well, that's a pretty good tip, I think, for this generation especially. So when it comes down to, maybe take us through a couple of ideas like income-producing assets, real estate, financial assets, businesses.
Those are all part of it. But I always say there are 3 keys to building wealth. Number 1, you want to make more money. Number 2, you want to spend wiser and maybe spend less. And number 3, you want to put your money into appreciating assets. Yeah. If you think about it, most people are putting their money into cars and boats and RVs and jet skis and handbags and computers and iPhones and iPads. Those are all depreciating assets. Right. They go down in value every single day. And what makes it worse is many people are taking loans at 6 or 8% interest. So they're paying more while these things are going down in value. You will never become wealthy if you put most of your money into depreciating assets. You want to put your money into appreciating assets, things like crypto or real estate or stocks or things that can go up over time. Right. Now, when it comes to making more money, I say the key is you got to find your ikigai. Now, ikigai is a Japanese concept where 4 circles intersect. So the first circle is what are you good at doing? So you want to list out everything you're good at doing. And then the second circle is what do you love to do? Because you might be good at something, but you don't like to do it. That's not a good combination. Sure. Then what does the world need, and can you get paid to do it? And I use me as an example. I found my ikigai. People say I'm good at doing what I'm doing. I like doing what I do. The world certainly needs what I'm doing, and I get paid very well to do what I do. I found my ikigai. So if people can find their ikigai or just be very good at whatever they do, I say there are riches in niches. Find your niche. It will make you rich. And if you look at the people who are very successful, they're not doing everything for everybody, but they're an expert in this one area.
Right.
If you need something, you go to that person, they're making the most money. So you want to get really good at something and have people come to you because you are known as that expert. For me, I do a lot of things with money, but I'm the retirement income expert. People come to me for retirement income questions,
Absolutely.
And so that would be my advice. And then just spend wiser. You don't need all this stuff. People waste so much money.
Yeah.
They waste so much. They go to the bar at the hotel. It's $18 a drink.
Yeah.
That's not a good use of your money.
Right.
Go down to the liquor store, buy those little 99-cent, bourbons, and put, whatever. But I'm just saying, if people would treat their money better, their money will treat them better.
Yeah. Well, I might have to give you a look at my Amex statement after this, but maybe we'll get to that later. So, again, maybe to close, take us through the mindset of a younger person in the generation in the 20s and the 30s, this younger generation. How important is it to start thinking about retirement now? It seems like it's a long time away, but you need to plan for it now.
Yeah, and it's not a long time. I say it's the money you save in your 20s that'll allow you to retire in your 60s.
Yeah.
If you're not saving any money in your 20s, you're not going to be able to retire in your 60s. And, when I was a financial advisor years ago, I would go out to somebody's house and they'd have 2 new pickups, a car, a jet ski, an RV, a satellite dish on this, but they didn't have any money to save.
Yeah.
And I said, here's the problem. You're paying everybody else, and at the end of the month, you're standing there and there's nothing left.
Yep.
My job is to move you to the front of the line. You have to pay yourself first.
Yeah.
Make sure you're paying yourself first. Save at least 15%. You should give 10% to charity. You should save at least 15% and then live on the other 75%. And you can do it. And if you don't believe me, just Google janitors who became millionaires. There are normal, regular people, cooks, waitresses that became millionaires, but they were disciplined and they paid themselves first, and that is the key, and put it into appreciating assets, and every single person can become wealthy if they truly want to be.
The discipline is huge.
Yeah.
Again, I mentioned you've been in 80 million American homes teaching people about financial literacy and the optimal way to grow rich and to retire. Where can people learn more? What's the best website, the best book?
TomHegna.com, or you can get any of my books on Amazon, but if you buy it at TomHegna.com, I actually pay for the shipping, so it's a pretty good deal.
Tom, we really appreciate you being at the conference. We know you're fighting a cold.
Yeah.
You made it here anyway to share these insights. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael.